Hello, everyone. Welcome to my Session 8 teaching memo. I am feeling very bad for Jets and Giants fans this morning, especially for Giants fans who have reached a new low by losing to the previously uh, unwon, if that's a word, San Francisco 49ers. I got to go to bed early last night because the Patriots were leading 27-9 at halftime. I always like that if they're on Monday night or Sunday night because I like to get to bed by 10 o'clock. And I was in bed by about 10 after. Thank you, Tom Brady. I mentioned last week that I worked my last football game, uh, and I was honored by my regional college football officiating group at a dinner on Thursday night, and by the Coast Guard Academy after the Merchant Marine Coast Guard game Saturday. My former teammates and classmates were there to support me, but the best part was that my son, who has never been to the Coast Guard Academy, never seen where I went to school, traveled 2.5 hours to go there, and my stepdaughter, Dr. Laura's daughter, came from Brooklyn, and it took her 4 hours to get. If you've ever been on Route 95 on a Friday afternoon after during rush hour, you'll know why it took her 4 hours. It took her, I think, an hour and a half to 2 hours to get back on Sunday. So I was very happy and pleased that they came to see me there and see me honored. So it's great memories and a good way to put an exclamation point on 38 years of an avocation, which I love very much. Okay, enough about me. We'll do a little housekeeping, and again, the last couple of weeks the load has been purposely light. You haven't had, although you could have started your double entry journal last week. There hasn't been really any written discussion board or any written work. But now this week you'll have some of that. You should still be working on your vocabulary in your own words, and you should be working on taking notes on your test so you can do your 3-point analytic summary, and you should be taking notes for your 3-part analytic summary. You're going to have to talk about what you would need to reteach. So you're going to have some references for that, how you figured that out, how you're going to have to talk about the test creation process, and naturally you'll reference Popham's chapter and selected response tests. You'll reference Chapuis et al., at least their chapter 5, and some of my other material, how to write learning targets, is this a trick question, et cetera, et cetera. So that would be in your second section. And your third section is going to be on what you learned. You need to have 3 things that you learned about the EdTPA, and you're going to have to reference those. You're going to have to cite the EdTPA. So you should be able to, you should know how to write a citation for the EdTPA, and it's not EdTPA 2017, it's Scale 2017. So you go back to that those course materials and see how I reference those materials, because I usually provide the APA reference for all materials that I share. I'm always concerned about people not participating in the group process, which this is. I'm very wary of group process online, but I need to do it because that's what you should be doing with your students. I have been writing people that haven't posted their test yet, and you're able to do the same thing. You can go into the communications menu, and I will show you where that is. If you go into this menu right here where it says Tools Communication, click on that, and it will take you to a place where you can email your group mates. So that's something you can do, and you'll definitely need to do that in the next discussion board where you're going to post your revised test. So remember that you need to give feedback that is actionable. Just saying this is, oh, you did a wonderful test, I love it, boy, you're so you're so smart, I wish I could write like you. Of course, I'm exaggerating now, but that feedback is not actionable. I wanted to show you, give you a sample of feedback that Tatiana gave to Samantha. You can see that she says there are several issues with your test, many of which can be corrected. Oh, that's me. Tatiana's down here. Sorry. That's good feedback too. I think you are on the right track. So she started off with a positive, which you should do. Some people say feedback should be a positive sandwich, a positive in the beginning and a positive at the end, because that's what people remember the most, and that's where the emotional part of it is tied to. There's so much emotion in feedback that a lot of people just shut down. They don't like feedback. They think somebody's telling them they're not a good person because you didn't do this correct the first time. But this whole process is an example of assessment for learning. You have exemplars of good tests. You have a rubric that you can use to guide you in writing it. And then you're going to get feedback from me and your classmates at least twice. From me just once, but from your classmates twice. So this is the process so you can take it and say, oh yeah, I didn't really realize that. Many of you haven't watched my test creation process video. Many, I can tell, because I tell you how to create learning targets. I tell you how to make a 2-column matching, and very few people have created a 2-column matching. So those are key things you need to do, but you also need to use that feedback to make your revised test better. So that's the whole process of assessment for learning. Is exemplars, knowing what to expect, and then those of you that try to cut corners and don't read or watch what you're supposed to, you're going to get slammed with feedback. Your targets are not specific and measurable. Your questions aren't aligned with your targets. Your formatting is very confusing, etc., etc. So you can see here that Tatiana has done that and has given some steps to help this person to improve their test. So Tatiana, very good. Thank you for that exemplar, and it's a shout out from Dr. Tom for doing that. I also wanted to remind people that the selected response answers with feedback is being graded with a modified discussion board rubric. There's only 2 characteristics of quality. It's timeliness and your initial post when you make it. You can find those rubrics if you go over here where it says all grading rubrics. Here they are right here. And this is the modified discussion board rubric. So you can see that to get an A, distinguished as an A, that you need at least 6 postings on a minimum of 3 separate days. So you have to respond to at least 5 of your group of classmates. Now some groups only have 4 people in them, so that means you can only respond to 3. Now if one of those people hasn't posted their test yet, what are you going to do? Well, you have to go into other groups, take their test, and give them feedback. So somebody wrote me and said, I know we need to respond at least 5 times, and that's true, and there's only 3 people that have posted in my group. You have to go into other groups and take their tests and post that test, post the answers back in the selected response test with answers and feedback. So that's all I have for the previous session 8. Or no, that's what I have for housekeeping. With session 8, I just wanted to mention that it was a comparison of Every Student Succeeds Act of 2015 and NCLB. And ESSA regulations are being altered as we speak by the DeVos cabinet. I haven't heard anything about that yet, so I'm not sure. I know that their their goal is to put more back on the states, and the whole purpose of the Common Core, as I mentioned in my presentations, was that all states would have the same standards, the Common Core standards, so that kids would be functioning at a high level. There were some, if you watched my NAEP presentation, that there are some states that their proficient level on their tests was below basic. So those kids were functioning below basic according to the NAEP and the people that created that test. So if you move to another state, you didn't know what kind of standards you were getting into. So that's why the NAEP was created, to show trends, to compare states with the same test, how they were doing. So that's something I wanted to point out. So that's it for housekeeping in session 8. Go into my assignment folder to see the session 9 video and the assignments video.